See when.
Good morning. Welcome to this week's Dharma Talk here at beautiful Bali Rica in beautiful Costa Rica. And in the spirit of International Pura Vida, this morning our meditation will be a musical one given by one of our group members, Pierce.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Pierce. This is a Shruti box. It's an Indian wind instrument. So this morning, I thought we would make it interactive and do some group ahms, A-U-M, that universal sound that makes you feel good. If you don't want to you can hum or you can sit silently. So I'm going to start off by playing a low C. I'll lead it with having us all inhale together, and we'll complete 3 together, and then we'll go from there.
You want me to move?
All right, everyone inhale. Inhale. Third one. At this point, we're going to do a 3-note progression to form a chord. If you would like to continue humming or ahming at your own pace, please continue.
Thank you, Pierce. Before Jeff begins today's talk, since this reminded me that last week we did a song that we all sang together. I think most of you probably did. We weren't able to put it on the film. Jeff was called and it was taken off, or Lisa was called, because of copyright issues, which I thought, this is non-profit, it's 55 years old. And I see people at weddings singing stuff like that, so it never occurred to me. But anyway, she did a wonderful job of editing it. So if you're on the internet and you wonder why all of a sudden everybody has the music and then it comes up a lovely screen with the lyrics just written out for you, sing it to yourself.
No fee.
There you are. So,
No
okay, so Jeff is take over.
Okay. I was sorry that I had to miss out last week. Ruthie began on talking about honesty, dishonesty, lying, the truth, all of those things. So I'm going to follow up in my own way.
Third precept.
The third
Right
precept,
speech, right.
right speech. I found, so I researched the same thing. Seeing I missed, I thought I'm going to research my own version. And so this is going to be largely about honesty. And surprisingly, this is a universal topic. I have quotes from everybody about the value of honesty. I think because it's so obvious. This talk is so obvious that there's nothing mysterious about what I'm going to say and in this. But I want to spend another time presenting, and I didn't have time this week, on the shades of honesty and the shades of dishonesty, because there's just this is not like a cut and dried topic. Like either you tell the truth or you don't tell the truth. There's all kinds of shades that we play with,
white lies,
and manipulate, and what we don't say when we should say.
Mm-hmm.
It's dishonest.
Mm-hmm. And when we say what we shouldn't.
Yes. So to be honest with you, as straightforward as the topic is, I'm going to do a Tico phrase. It's complicated.
It's complicated. That's courtesy.
It's complicated to practice it, and to practice it in a balanced and in a kind, compassionate, loving nature, where you end up with peace. So we're going to do a little shorter talk today because after we do the loving kindness meditation, the Happiness Project is going to tell you what they're doing, which is an offshoot of this group.
You can do that before then, if you want to do it.
No, I think we should do the meta and then we'll do that presentation.
Okay. Just
So honesty in Buddhism. In Buddhist practice, being honest with ourselves is the most important virtue. By being honest with ourselves, it seems possible. By being honest with ourselves, it seems possible that the reason we should strive to be a gentle, kind, and caring person is impossible to be completely compassionate unless we are willing to face the reality that it is right in front of us. It wasn't a really, I think what it's talking about is that honesty as a virtue comes from within.
Would you mind repeating the sentence again?
Yeah. The sentence. I think I read it badly. Being honest within ourselves, it seems possible that we could strive to be a gentle person, a kind, a caring being. But it is impossible to be completely compassionate unless we are willing to face the reality that is right in front of us, which is right within us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's kind of a difficult sentence.
It is a difficult sentence. So if it's the most important virtue, by the way, Natalie, you and I know this because of being in treatment settings, it's the number one virtue in recovery. You learn to work an honest program. If you don't work AA. You don't work sobriety. People who are in therapy, if they're not honest in therapy, just waste money and time. But honesty starts with us knowing what we're about inside. So I told Ruthie I was going to share this because this is very personal. I paid a lot of karmic price early in my life because I could not figure out how to be honest with myself. I could give all kinds of excuses for that. The times weren't ready for gay people. My parents wouldn't accept it. I had a religious background that taught me, and so I could justify my dishonesty with myself. But this was, I knew it, and yet I hid it to others and indeed to myself. To the point where I got married, had 2 children, and then have it all fall apart. Paid a huge karmic price for my dishonesty with myself. It was torturous. In those days, where I had a praying life, I would pray that this would go away from me. Because I didn't want to be this. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like everyone else. And so when you play those games with yourself, you also live with the karmic consequences. You hurt yourself. You hurt others. There was a period of time in one year, 1992, the worst year of my life, when do you mind me swearing for a minute?
No.
When the shit hit the fan.
Close your ears.
In one year, I lost my marriage, time with my children, my occupation, my reputation, my friendships, my house, probably some other things, but those are the 6 that come to mind right now.
Wow.
It was the karmic consequences of my dishonesty with myself. I've never had to pay those karmic consequences again. I've had to pay some consequences. I did lose friends.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, my family from the Midwest, who had never had a gay person in their midst, all came on board.
So I didn't hear you what?
All came on board.
Oh, okay.
Now one person rejected me. I was worried my parents would. They didn't. I was worried my children would. They didn't. And so this idea of learning honesty within yourself is crucial. If you play games with yourself, there will be consequences. It's natural. You can hide only for so long with yourself. And so the first and most important thing of honesty in Buddhism is that you learn to be honest with yourself. The tool by which you can become fully honest with yourself is meditation.
Where you go in.
You go inside and you find all the nuances of you, all the beautiful nuances of you. And when you do that, you can live with yourself. If you can live with yourself, you can live with others. If you can be compassionate to yourself, you'll be compassionate to others. If you can love yourself, you'll be able to love others. There's a Christian phrase. I deviated from my notes today. Interesting. There's a Christian phrase, love your neighbor as yourself. It's also, I think, in other religious books. The meaning of that. Shakespeare did use that as well?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of it. I often couldn't tell you it.
Okay. It started in my learning background with Jesus.
Be true to yourself, and you cannot stand be false to any man.
Okay.
Right. Which one?
Shakespeare.
I know, but
Hamlet.
Hamlet?
To thine own self be true.
To thine own
Oh,
self be true.
Yeah.
That's
And I think it is. Never mind. Go.
I forgot where I was going down.
Oh,
What was I
I'm
just saying?
sorry.
What was I
I'm
just saying?
sorry, I interrupted you.
It's okay.
I got a good train of thought then.
Yeah.
I screwed it up.
No, that's okay.
that phrase is
Yes.
actually in every single major religion.
Mhm.
On interfaith.
Totally.
And, so I've studied, lots of different religions, and that phrase is slightly different in. It's just a matter of semantics, though. It literally says the same thing in every the 10 major religions.
They all have that idea.
Yeah.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Interestingly, I was always taught it backwards. That if you love others, you'll love yourself.
Right.
So love others.
Yeah.
And then they tell a bunch of stories, that lead you into that you should be kind and compassionate and loving to other people. That isn't what it means. That's fine. It's just good that you're loving to others. But the source of that is that you love yourself. What it actually means in the Hebrew and in the biblical language, and I'm sure you could go back to all the religions and find what the source of that language meant. It really meant if you love yourself, you will love your neighbor. So you start where you have to start, and that is with self-knowledge, self-understanding, self-compassion, self-love. And so we often feel better about ourselves when we help others. That's okay. However, the better order and the source of this that doesn't wear us out, but continues to rejuvenate us, is if we love ourselves. It's this way, from here out,
It's like
rather
medicine.
than here in.
It's just like medicine. You start here and you move out here and you move out here
We do.
until finally it becomes everything.
Yes. Honesty is looking directly into your own heart through the practices of meditation. One can find the awakened Buddha, the complete unclouded experience of how things really are for us. That's a pretty good phrase. The honesty when we look directly into our own hearts through the practice of meditation, one can find the awakened Buddha, the complete unclouded experience of how things really are for us and really are in the world. You must find out for yourself what is true. This seems so obvious, doesn't it? As you listen to it, you're like, of course. But we struggle with the reality of doing the process of this. Honesty is the best policy. Some people say this is quoted back to Buddha, and then it's given all kinds of other future sources. It's questionable whether
It's universal.
whether the Buddha said this or not.
Doesn't matter. It's
But honesty
universal.
is the best policy. A disciple did ask the Buddha if honesty always pays. Good question. The Buddha replied that it might or might not, but at least there is no guilt.
Absolutely.
I thought that was a lovely, lovely answer. There's no guaranteed results here when you're honest. It could work out good. It could also not work out good. But you'll live true to yourself and you won't have guilt within yourself. You do that. Let me read it once more because it's so good. A disciple asked him if honesty always pays. Buddha replied, then it might or it might not, but at least there is no guilt.
Sounds like he had a sense of humor.
I think he probably, there's
I'm
the
sure
smiling
he did.
Buddhas,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if he smiled after that one. And the people are like, oh.
Well, then in Christianity, we have the saying, virtue is its own reward. and honesty. If you don't get the reward is in for you yourself.
Right, exactly.
Same like excellent.
I want to play a Buddhist tale about honesty. I rarely do this. See if you can hear it. If the trucks don't go by, maybe we can't hear it.
Wait for the truck.
There's also a 5-minute second ad about getting your body in shape.
Once upon a time, in a place called City, there were two salesmen,
Can you hear
pots and pans, handmade trinkets.
I can't go louder.
They agreed to divide the
Anybody
town.
got a
No.
plug in?
I do.
They also
Yes.
said
Yes.
Let me get it.
Yeah, we
I
want
thought-
to hear it.
Okay, you can? Okay, Ruthie.
Don't you? Okay, thank you. Don't you think the reason this is so difficult for us is that in our Western culture we're kind of taught to begin with that we are guilty of something just by virtue of being born, original sin, and then we find out that as children, if we tell the truth, we're often punished. And so rather than being rewarded, that goes back to what you were just talking about. Rather than being rewarded for, being honest, you lose privileges or get spanked or something. And so people just automatically have an aversion to being punished. And I think that's pretty much it. Everybody agrees that is pretty much the origin is we lie because we're afraid of the consequences of truth.
Well, and I think particularly right now in the world society, truth comes across sometimes as negotiable. That social media or whatever it is, I don't know what caused it, but I remember there being clear as a child. It seemed a lot clearer for me, right and wrong, what's the true path. Right now, one group's truth is not another group's truth, and it's so convoluted. And it's not just America or Canada. I mean, it's worldwide. It's debilitating. I share something, and then thank goodness, my children read it and say, "Oh, Mom, take that down. That's not true." How can it not be true? And you got to look at it on Snoop, and you got to do this, and you got to do. And I'm like, it's half an hour to figure out if something you've read is true or not. And that's discouraging,
Well,
It makes you question.
2 words.
What?
Alternative facts.
Yeah. Very good.
And that really seep into our society.
It's difficult right now.
You got you ready now? That's a good thing.
But if you feel
You go.
you're speaking the truth, then you are speaking the truth to yourself. In your own
No, not necessarily. It's your truth to you,
Right.
It's not.
And that's
yeah.
all you can
And
do.
that doesn't.
But
Okay.
you speak maybe with my kids.
Let me play this Buddhist tale. Let me play this Buddhist tale about honesty.
Here we go.
See if we can get it going. Sharon, there's a way of turning it up?
Just come on.
Let's try.
I think so.
Once upon a time, in a place called Seri, there were two salesmen of pots and pans and handmade trinkets. They agreed to divide the town between them. They also said that after one had gone through his area, it was all right for the other to try and sell where the first had already tried his luck. One day, while one of them was coming down the street, a poor little girl saw him and asked her grandmother to buy her a bracelet. The old grandmother replied, "How can we poor people buy bracelets?" The little girl said, "Since we don't have any money, we can give our black old plate."
Give her what?
Black
The
old
old woman
plate.
agreed to give it a try, so she invited the dealer inside. The salesman saw that these people were very poor and innocent, so he didn't want to waste his time with them. Even though the old woman pleaded with him, he said he had no bracelet that she could afford to buy. Then she asked, We have an old plate that is useless to us. Can we trade it for a bracelet? The man took it and, while examining it, happened to scratch the bottom of it. To his surprise, he saw that underneath the black suit there was a golden plate. But he didn't let on that he had noticed it. Instead, he decided to deceive these poor people so he could get the plate for next to nothing. He said, "This is not worth even one bracelet. There is no value in this. I don't want it." He left, thinking he would return later, when they would accept even less for the plate. The other salesman, after finishing in his part of town, followed after the first as they had agreed. He ended up at the same house. Again, the poor little girl begged her grandmother to trade the old plate for a bracelet. The woman saw that this was a nice, tender-looking merchant and thought, "He is a good man, not like the rough-talking first salesman." So she invited him in and offered to trade the same black, sooty old plate for one bracelet. When he examined it, he too saw that it was pure gold under the grime. And he said to the old woman, "All my goods and all my money together are not worth as much as this rich golden plate." Of course, the woman was shocked at this discovery, but now she knew that he was indeed a good and honest fellow. So she said she would be glad to accept whatever he could trade for it. The salesman said, "I'll give you all my pots and pans and trinkets, plus all my money, if you will let me keep just 8 coins and my balancing scale with its cover to put the golden plate in." They made the trade. He went down to the river where he paid the 8 coins to the ferryman to take him across. By then, the greedy salesman had returned, already adding up huge imaginary profits in his head. When he met the little girl and her grandmother again, he said he had changed his mind and was willing to offer a few cents, but not one of his bracelets, for the useless black sooty old plate. The old woman then calmly told him of the trade she had just made with the honest salesman, and said, "Sir, you lied to us." The greedy salesman was not ashamed of his lies, but he was saddened as he thought, "I've lost the golden plate that must be worth 100,000. So he asked the woman, which way did he go? She told him the direction. He left all his things right there at the door and ran down to the river, thinking, "He robbed me. He robbed me. He won't make a fool out of me." From the riverside, he saw the honest salesman still crossing over on the ferry boat. He shouted to the ferryman, "Come back!" But the good merchant told him to keep on going to the other side, and that's what he did. Seeing that he could do nothing, the greedy salesman exploded with rage. He jumped up and down, beating his chest. He became so filled with hatred towards the honest man who had won the golden plate that he made himself cough up blood. He had a heart attack and died on the spot. You see, in life, in our life, honesty still is the best policy. You might think life is unfair. There are people who are cheaters and liars, and they are successful and rich and mighty. Yes, they may be rich and successful, but all their success and richness is built on a shallow castle made out of lies and cheating, and it is too late for them to look back and return to the good. They have to keep on going and lying and cheating until it digs their own grave for them. Honesty is the best policy. Stay humble, stay honest. This is Dare to Do Motivation Stories. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.
Oh, lovely. Now, question 2. That's a good story.
It is. I think it's a traditional Buddhist story.
It is a traditional Buddhist story. I've never heard it told as well, but
No.
usually shortened way down.
Can I tell you a quick honesty story?
Yeah.
Not to get off, but
Yeah.
my husband had a real serious accident on Wednesday. And,
Wednesday?
Yep. Went way off the road. And these teenagers showed up and jumped into it and got ropes and went through the windows and got him out of it. And then they went back to this very precarious, and it wasn't ready to really go down deep.
Oh.
Went back into the car to get wallet and phone and stuff that they thought was important. Jim didn't ask them, didn't know where they went. He just knew they went back over the side. They came up and they had in their shirts all of the different things, and they kind of just put them in a grocery sack, and he said, "Thank you very much." Well, it was a long day. So it wasn't until we got home that I went through these bags just to see what was in there. It had the registration and certificate, everything out of the glove box. And all of a sudden I pull out this wad of cash. And I'm going, "What is this?" He said, "God, I forgot." He had gone to the bank. We had 2 large bills that were due, one to a contractor, one to someone else. And there was a lot of money sitting there. And I said, "Are you going to count it?" He said, "No, I don't think so. Not tonight." He said, "No matter what." He counted it in the morning. Every penny of it was there. And obviously it had flown because it was all, all messed up. But wow, they could have pulled a 10 out or 5 out and they would have no more than deserved it. But no, it was like, that was so heartening, that experience with those people. They, it just loved me some Chicos.
Yeah. Yes. I did the same thing the first year I was learning money, and I was here by myself, and I would count how much I had every day, and then I'd check it out at the end of the day with my receipts or whatever. I never at the potpourri or any of the pharmacy, anything, right to the penny every day. And I'm like, "Here, take what you need," because I can't count it yet, So yeah, it's wonderful.
I find it a very honest culture.
Yeah.
And that's
Very honest.
a big attraction to me, to be here.
Yeah. Agree.
Let me do some quotes about honesty. Honesty saves everyone's time.
Yeah. Okay.
I see everybody nodding. It's just like, wow. So it's a very efficient thing.
Thank you.
Warren Buffett. Honesty is a very expensive gift. Don't expect it from cheap people.
Oh.
Oscar Wilde. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. I thought it was lovely. He's such a avant-garde guy. William Faulkner. Never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth and compassion against injustice and lying and greed. If people all over the world would do this, it would change the earth.
Yeah. But it's your interpretation, and that's
Headlong.
But anyway, I don't want to. I'm just saying that
It
seems
starts
as
with
though
if.
everyone doesn't understand the same truth. So that's the precarious place we're in.
Do you want to know, is that not why we need to at least listen to each other?
Absolutely. Whatever the solution.
And
And
the Buddhists would say without judgment, without our judgment of that, to listen and to try to understand. That's how we get out of our own dilemma about that in a not judgmental way.
And Jeff, don't you find that the judgment, if you start judging oh my gosh, you don't hear the rest of the conversation
You don't.
a lot of
You
times.
You
And I
tainted it.
really have to work on that because I start immediately judging what there's, and it's like, wait a minute, no, just
Listen.
hear it to the end.
You find often that if you actually really listen to each other, that you're closer to the same truth than what you thought you were. We've had some interesting discussions about listening in treatment groups about just listening. So I have them do exercise with controversial topics. So we start with something like your favorite vacation. Listen to each other. You in pairs. Listen to what's your favorite vacation. Tell the other person what you heard them say. Simple exercise. But then you get down to some topics like abortion. And if you have people who are not in necessary agreement, same exercise.
Conflict, right?
Same exercise. How will you listen all the way through and their reasons and repeat back to them? Just because you listen and you confirm does not mean you agree. But it does mean that you understand.
But that's a case of difference of opinion that you can find legitimacy on either viewpoint.
Correct.
But too often you have people who are just denying facts and evidence and just lying openly.
I know. And I don't think.
And those, I think you have every right to just, see them for what they are.
Well, and then you have to figure out what you do with that, how involved you want to be with that.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to solve that problem.
No, we're not going to have that. No way.
I think that's too big a problem for this group.
Wow.
You're all lovely, but I don't necessarily think that we need to solve that one.
But Jeff?
Yeah.
Let me ask a question. You do marriage counseling.
Yeah.
And relationship counseling.
Speak up for our room.
Yeah.
And I would like to know, I feel in a relationship, there is not always honesty. It's not dishonesty. It's flavors, so you don't hurt somebody's feelings and I was in counseling with my former husband, and I found that what I felt was honesty was not shared.
Mm-hmm.
It was go over here and talk about this, go over here and talk about this.
Sure.
And I actually felt the same way. I withdrew and said, well, I'm not going to call him out on this, and start an argument, And so I'm not talking about news or politics or anything. I'm talking about, a relationship between two people, whether it's a marriage or whatever, just two friends. And I find that you filter a lot.
Uh-huh.
And some of it you hold inside because you're filtering it. You're not being true to yourself. It's the karma kind of thing. But
Yeah.
what is your comment on that?
Boy,
you've had experience.
it's like a whole other topic. It really is. And when is it time to speak the truth? When is it time where I have a simple answer, and then because you're giving me something very complicated to think about for a month from now when I'm back.
Okay.
He already has one plan that he talked about at the beginning. 50 Shades of Honesty.
But we're talking about truth and speak the truth and none of that.
Yes.
And so
Yeah, I think generally speaking the truth is the right thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And then there are people that you don't want to waste your time speaking the truth with because they're not going, why are you talking? If you do this over and over again to the same wall, what's the point now? So there's all these nuances of honesty and those things, and I think that's a tricky topic. I think it's a tricky topic.
Can I say something?
Of course.
You should go back and listen to last week's Dharma talk because Mark explained it perfectly.
Do you want to say? Do you want to say?
I sure did.
Do you want to be perfect again?
No, he's going to do it next week, right?
Are you following up with this?
He
With
has
that
the talk
topic?
prepared. Yeah.
Okay,
Last
following
week.
up next week.
And so
Okay.
he's going to do the same follow-up
But watch
on
last
that for
week.
next week.
Because it was great. It was
Oh, okay.
powerful. And it just really made a lot of sense.
Barb, I'll put it on both the revised version that Lisa gave us on both the Wichita and the Platinum.
I put it up on both of them.
You did already.
Oh,
Good.
okay.
So it's there for you.
Is
'Cause
that
I know
the one
you're
with
on
the
there.
singing? That was the one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
because one
last
was
week.
singing, but it's edited.
It's that one.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get there.
What was the point, though? Keep us out of suspense.
Well, it's the conflict within of how you're being, the truth is here and the lie is here, and so you're being bombarded. Your physical and mental. I'm not going to do it justice, God knows, but it was just that how harmful it is. Really, is what I got out of it. Is how harmful it is to your being. To have to, and then to have to juggle it in your head. It's exhausting. It becomes anger because you can't. It just it layers and.
Okay.
Anyway.
Just didn't want to get to go back and watch the whole thing completely. Thank you. And thank you.
You wanted a shortcut.
I just didn't want to be left hanging out there. I was like, I was trying to figure out. It was complicated. To begin with, it was an hour.
Right,
I
exactly.
wanted the minute synopsis.
Soundbite for honesty.
Let me do a couple other things. I think. Yeah, good. There was a study. There was a study done with the university.
Sniffle protector.
I said I love you, but you're sniffling.
Oh, okay, got it. There was a study done at the University of Germany and put together by a guy named Julius Maximilian, and they came up with four reasons for honesty and why you would do it. The benefits. Honest people save time in their conversations. Similar to what we said before, honesty saves everyone's time. 2, don't waste time with unworkable people.
So you listen and you do what we were talking about listening to other people and being open to what they're saying. But when you figure out that it's going nowhere with this person, don't continue.
Honest people don't prolong situations that might bring bad consequences in the long run. Honest people don't prolong situations that might bring bad consequences in the long run. That's really seeing the big picture of how you make decisions in the immediate. And honest people are honest enough with themselves, so I've gone, this is as long as I need to do this. That takes a lot of insight, understanding, observation of yourself as a Buddhist talk.
Changes in behavior.
It does. Einstein, being honest may not get you a lot of friends, but it will always get you the right ones. Whoever is careless with the truth in small matters cannot be trusted with important matters. I think we know that one. So now that the guys help your husband, now you know that if you see them again, you could trust them. Because they did it in a small matter in a short period of time. And now you know that they can be trusted with something important.
They told you their character.
Aren't there what I'm getting out of this is their feelings, that this is the way I feel and I'm being honest with how I feel.
Yeah.
But then there are facts out there and everybody can have a different opinion on the facts.
Maybe.
What is the truth?
Maybe.
But honest, so I might say, I believe this, but that's my fact.
No, it's not a fact. You
That's
just
your
said, I
belief.
believe
That's
it.
my feeling.
That's your belief and your feeling.
But
facts
so
are
It's your current insight.
Okay. Okay, but that doesn't mean it's true. It's just the way I feel.
It's your current insight about
And
it.
so,
One of the things Barb this leads us to, though, is that we need to not be attached permanently to our insights, to our current insights.
that's next.
We need to let we need to grow.
And that's Buddhism, not being attached.
Not being attached to our current insights as they are what they are. And what if there's something else that needs to be considered, looked
Open-minded.
at, being open-minded in the process of that? You could end up at the same spot, maybe, but you want to know generally you're not. If have you ever had somebody say, "I'd like you to tell you something about you"? Well, our first and most natural response is, "Yeah, no." Or we might say yes, but we really mean no. We're being dishonest with them. We're playing a game, and those things. But if you end up in this open spot where you are growing evolution, like, go ahead and you consider what they have to say. Doesn't mean that you accept it 100%, but there might be something true in that. There probably usually is something true in what they have to say. And so that kind of openness to the process of growth is a part of being honest where you currently are. I want to do one more thing. 12 reasons why honesty is important, and then we'll stop. Honesty underpins trust in a relationship. It's not love that keeps relationships together, it's trust. Trust is the glue that keeps people together. Reasons why honesty is important is it's easier to understand someone when they're being honest. It's complicated when they're not. You're left wondering. Honesty, more likely than not, you will get what you want in the end with honesty, in the long run. Honesty makes space for others to become vulnerable.
Open up.
One of the crazy things about working in therapy is, and especially therapy in treatment settings, is you got to tell a little bit of, like I told a little bit of my own story in the beginning. That honesty opens doors for others to become vulnerable about things that they would have normally hidden or not been willing to. And so I'm grateful for having done therapy in those settings, because traditional therapy is, it's nothing about you. There's nothing you share about you. It's all about the other person. That's a lovely idea. But it allows others to be vulnerable because you show vulnerability. What was it that you said to me a couple weeks ago, Mark? You came to me afterwards and you said something, what I really liked was your vulnerability in what you said. Do you remember what you said to me? You said that something about my processing of something where I admitted that I wasn't.
Involved attachment.
Yes, involved attachment, where you're just like, when you were honest and saying, I gave one talk on this, I thought, well, I kind of started, and then it's like, all right, isn't it what you said to me?
Yeah, it was something to the extent of that you approached the group in a statement of openness and honesty, and then proceeded from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that you were proclaiming that you were all knowing and wonderful about this. You were saying this is something that's important, something to feel passionate about, and you opened yourself through the center, and you opened yourself to the group and said, this is what we're working on, and I feel this might be a way that we could look at it, and I'd like to open it up to the group as a group discussion. And so doing, we all dove into it and worked on it, and you helped this beautiful space whereby every person could feel inclusive, be part of it, and help to resolve or find a solution. That was what I was saying.
Yeah, we're all on a journey, are we not, with ourselves, and also a journey with each other here.
On that note, can I share?
Speak up, honey, so we can hear.
I'm sorry, I speak a little low, I'll try. On that note, I've had some challenges today with language of give up on that person. My struggle with that is I have given up on people.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I regret that choice. I think for me, the better approach has been, after the fact and learning those hard lessons, has been that just to let people be where they are, embrace where they are, let them speak where they are, but also my voice contributes to the whole as well. And we might have a different perspective, and that's okay. I shouldn't have to be quiet just because maybe my voice is a minority view, and they shouldn't have to be quiet because their voice is a minority view. I think we learn and grow from each other if we listen to everybody's voice, and it doesn't, not for the sake of changing their perspective, but just for the purpose of having that exchange.
That's true. Very well spoken. Yeah, it's not that you're giving up on the person, you're just not pounding the issue.
Right, exactly. Because why try to change their perspective? Just share your own
can't.
and let them share theirs.
No one to
Spirit will work
no
with
one
that
to
person.
detach, but stay involved.
You're really talking about not burning bridges behind you.
No, because I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned with the power of voicing things into creation, and more concerned with each individual's own personal journey and where they are on that journey, and how we can better embrace humanity as a whole for the purpose of healing and growth, to literally just listen to someone without any kind of agenda whatsoever to change their point of view.
Good.
And let Source do that work.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Good. I think that sounds really lovely. It is in contrast to a couple of these folks. So let's just sit with that. Thank you. Honesty always leads to the best outcome in the long run. You've seen that qualifier.
In the long run,
There's
not in the short run.
no guarantee in the short run, but in the long run, honesty is simple, leads to inner peace, builds self-esteem, demonstrates your character. I think that's the only ones I'm going to share from that list. So, that the summary of this, I think, is it starts with you. Learning to be honest with yourself. And then it spills out to others. And to kind of take your global view of the voices, it changes the world. It can change the world. Despite the, sorry for all the sniffling today. Despite all the superficial turmoil in the world, and some of it's drastic for people, there's an undercurrent of kindness, compassion, honesty, integrity that's also flowing in the current day, in contrast to this. And that's where we can be. We can be in the undercurrent of that as it takes hold and our voices are heard in the world with that. With compassion, with kindness, with detachment, with being involved, with being honest. That's what I have for today.
This is a good
Thank you very
example
much.
of that.
Okay, John.
Getting into politics.
Oh,
Yeah, don't get into politics.
Okay.
You know,
And I stopped.
the hearing
Yeah.
that we watch.
Exactly.
There are
The big
people
lie.
who are against their own interests. In many cases, speaking like happened to them.
Yeah.
And it's
been corroborated, so you know, it sounds true, right? That those things were said in those sessions. But they had every reason to remain silent, and they did for a long time.
Yeah.
They had their party loyalty, they had their jobs, they had their relationships or friends. They had attorney-client privilege that they could have hidden, or executive privilege. And I'm sure they were pressured to remain silent that way, and yet each of them spoke out, giving their reasons. I swore to the Constitution. I swore to my religion. Some higher purpose in speaking the truth, and it was astoundingly convincing.
Yes, wonderful.
And that it's a good parable, I guess, for yes, there are costs, but there's a higher purpose in speaking the truth.
It's also a good example of how if the truth were spoken right from the start,
All could have been.
all that could have been avoided is insane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is like,
It talks about the complexity
It's
of it,
amazing.
how complicated and how much time
Yeah.
is wasted,
Wait,
and how much
shit.
energy is
We
wasted.
have so many
Amazing.
problems.
I have
and
a
we're
quote
dealing
for
with
that.
ridiculous.
you
Okay.
do,
I have a quote for that.
Yeah.
Sir Walter Scott wrote, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. It causes endless, ever expanding problems, and it takes courage to combat
amazing.
It causes drama.
it."
All right, let's do the loving kindness meditation,
All right.
and then we have the presentation from the happiness group.
All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Take a deep breath. Stretch if you need. It's a good point to stretch. And we will begin with metta, loving kindness, unconditional friendship. And we will begin, as we've just been talking about, with ourselves. So close your eyes, bring into your mind's eye yourself, and say to yourself, "May I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease, equanimity, calm, and peaceful. May I be happy. Smile to yourself and bring to mind someone you love very, very, very much with all your heart. See that person very clearly. Smile to them, say their name, and say to them, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May you be happy. And now bring to mind a neutral person, someone that you're familiar with, but you don't know them well. There's not real closeness there. If you don't know his or her name, address them as friend. Dear friend, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. And now, turn your attention to someone with whom you are in conflict. This is an important one. Take your time. Let yourself release as you go along and feel tension. Look at this person, smile, say their name, and say, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May you be happy. Another deep breath. And now you bring your hands to your heart. Symbolically, your heart is where you hold everything and where you place your good wishes. And this time you say, may all beings everywhere, on this plane and all other planes, be well. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be happy. Stay with this feeling. If you're at home, you can sit with it as long as possible. Try to let it filter into a cellular set of good intentions and goodwill for all mankind. This too is universal. When you're ready, release your hands, open your eyes, and smile at your partners. And now Jeff is going to help us with the happiness house.
Yes, we're going to do a separate video here.
What is it?
A big one.
Well, may he be happy.